Hello, beautiful MILFs, and welcome back to another episode of the MILFs Who Pivot podcast, where the term MILF is short for Money Making Independent Lady Friends. I'm your host, Bianca Terry, and each week I'll either be interviewing or reading about amazing women who have pivoted in life to pursue their wildest dreams and wealth from a MILF's perspective. This podcast aims to motivate and encourage other MILFs to boldly explore uncharted paths towards a fresh and fabulous leveled up life. Dominique Levesque is a gifted energy conductor and spiritual translator who adeptly channels transformative energy. As a soul map guide, she empowers individuals to unlock and utilize their innate talents for both personal and business advancement. Her holistic method synergizes with her insightful talks on integrating higher self into business success. Hi, Dominique. I'm so happy to meet you. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me, Bianca.
Yes, absolutely. So I read everything. I went through your website and your social media and watched a few YouTube videos, and I was very intrigued by what you do. And I think some of the concepts I'm familiar with, but I'm really interested in knowing more. So I have a bunch of questions for you. But before we get into your current work, before you started working with soul languages and using energy to, help progress people forward and as well as yourself, what were you doing? Who was the woman before you got into this kind of energetic and soulful work?
So I think that I was very lucky because I was never the other woman. I was the woman that, and the kid and the child and the baby that already understood energy and
Mm.
saw a golden flow within people, but that was quieted down by society. And I think between the age of maybe like 10 to 24, I didn't talk about it because every time I would talk about any of these things, I would be told I was crazy. And no one wants to be told they're crazy when they're young, right?
Right.
um, but when I was 24, I was working in hotels and in bars, and I was planning the hotels on the opening teams. I was the concierge of the hotels. And then I would see all these energy that was stagnant in those beautiful places. And I started talking about it. I talked about it in a way that a business person in a traditional, more 3D framework would understand me. And I started moving energy. Like I would say things like, have you noticed that people don't make it to the front desk? They just go straight to their room. They don't come and ask questions. And then the manager would be, yeah, well, maybe that couch is not in the right place. And I'm not going to start explaining this couch is blocking the flow of the energy of the. So
Hmm.
this is what I was. And then I love to travel. I'm a nomad. I've been a nomad since I'm 15 years old. And I would walk into resorts. I organized events. I lead events, like all my life. I've always been in the traveling industry, hospitality industry. And then I would walk into these beautiful resorts. I remember one in Costa Rica. It's called Arenal, and it's probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. And we're sitting in the restaurant at night, and the volcano like has those eruptions, not bad for us. And then the bath at the bottom, and like people were not going in one area of the resort. It was the most beautiful area. And I started thinking, I can do like business audits for people. And so I started, like, while I'm sitting in the restaurant, writing business audits and selling those to travel. But it was all about the energy, Bianca. Everything for me in my world, my entire life, has always been about energy. It's just, I guess, the way that I use the words. Now I'm not afraid to say, I'm an energy healer. I'm an energy conductor. I'm a spiritual translator. And before I wouldn't say it.
Wow, I love that energy healer. I had the opportunity of meeting one about a year ago in Mexico, and she studied all of the Mayan traditions and used used all of that knowledge to, I guess, provide services to her clients. But it was
Mm,
more hands-on, like massage. And I guess what
yeah.
you do is working with people to, on an individual level, help block energy and help them move in the direction that they want to move in. And maybe it's kind of the
Yeah.
same thing with their people who own businesses, or people who are in careers. You help them get to the next level.
We all
So,
have a creative mind, right, Bianca? Everybody
mhm,
has a creative mind. And I basically help to get your creative back into your heart so that it's
wow,
always there.
that is fantastic. So I know this is within you, and I think that is fantastic. At any point, did you ever have, I don't know, any technical training for this, or did you study
Oh,
anything?
yeah. I've been studying my entire life.
Wow.
I started by studying pranic healing. I studied how to see auras. I studied sacred geometry. I did coaching certification classes. I did some therapy classes. I guess every year since I'm about 25, the clientele changed. The needs maybe evolved, or the people that were coming in my field were different, and I felt the need to be able to help them more.
Okay.
Now, I do want to say something that at one point I was doing this from my not self, so my shadow work. I thought I was not enough. And so I would study, 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 study. And then at one point, maybe in my 30s, I started, no, maybe a little bit, yeah, 34, 35. When my first child was born, I started understanding that the knowledge is not what I'm looking for, because I had a lot of knowledge. I had like, I mean, a lot of knowledge, and I
Hmm.
was using it, but I wasn't using it on a wisdom base. I would help people, but then after I was gone, they weren't able to help themselves. And my idea is not for you to need me. My idea is for everybody to thrive. And so that's when I started taking coaching classes and therapy classes to really understand how the brain works and how to weave in everything. So I channel, I get the information from somewhere else, and how to bring it in here in the 3D so that it works for you.
Okay. That's interesting. I love that. So when did you, I know throughout your career you've worked in the different places where you've lived as a traveler. When did it come a point where you thought, okay, like you said, I have all the knowledge that I need. I'm going to turn this into a full-fledged business. When did you actually set up your business to do what it does now?
So I started with an event management business where I would bring people and do a lot of team consolidation. We would have them live these beautiful experiences so that when they go back into their businesses, they would understand each other on a deeper level, so that I worked with people that are on a very, very high level of stress, like games creators, or, they have like a deadline and they can't pass that deadline because all the launches are already planned. Um, and the stress would basically make them not want to work anymore. And so they would come and we would organize these experiential retreats that were exponential for them and their teams. So I've been doing that since I'm 24. That
Wow.
was the first, and that business just evolved. Then I had a private concierge business, same thing. Like, understand the energy of the people. What do they want? What do they need? If they're asking you for one thing, don't offer them the other thing. Like, really try to understand. I would go into hotels and teach about how you speak with the tourist. It's still energy.
Hmm.
Because the first thing in all the businesses that I've had up until now, my first thing is always, who are you in the role that you play? And how can you better help the person that is needing you? How can you better serve? Those words were not very welcome in a lot of places because they want to go fast.
Hmm.
But I would always say to the people, if you can drop into your heart and you can be aligned with what you do and really know who you are, be the best I, so we can be the better we, right? So when you know really who you are, even if you're a phone operator, really know why you're doing this. Everything's going to go faster because your communication is going to be better. The way you're going to be received is going to be better. You're not on your agenda, you're on your client's agenda, because it's always about your client. The hero of your journey is not you, it's them. But you need to know yourself to really be able to get that forth.
Right. So after the retreats, did you say, okay, I want to move out of producing retreats and move more into one-to-one coaching?
I don't do one-to-one
And I was
coaching.
going to say, and is it that, I'm glad you brought that up because I did notice that. I didn't see the word coaching anywhere on your website. So I was thinking, okay, well, how is she terming this?
Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
you
no,
took
I don't do.
classes, but like, what is it? What is it that you do?
I have a membership.
Ah,
So
okay.
yeah, I have a membership which I call the collective because I like to run it more like a mastermind. My idea is that I use human design. I use like a lot of different things because I do believe that the more you know yourself, the better you're going to be able to serve from your heart, but knowing what it means. Because if I say to you,
Mhm,
Bianca, today, drop to your heart and find your core and feel in your body, you're gonna look at me and go, what does that mean? Right?
mhm,
So in the membership, I give what I know, right? But everybody gives what they know, and something will resonate. And
ah,
then there's coaches, there's healers, there's a music producer, there's like so many different people, and we all feel the energy and our intuition in different ways. So I bring in the knowledge, and together we all make it be wisdom for us to better serve the world. So I
mhm,
do that as a membership. I do have the soul maps, which is not really coaching because, again, I bring in the information from the 6D, bring it down and tell you within your soul, this is what your soul wants you to be.
mhm.
These are your gifts. Let's turn this into something so powerful that you're never going to doubt why you're here. But it's not coaching because I'm telling you what I see, right? And
Mhm.
then you come in the membership and then you start exploring all of these things.
So do they come to you and say, "Hey, I think this is what my gift is," or do you do some kind of analyzing to determine what you find to be their gifts?
I don't analyze, I channel. So I
Okay.
basically make a drawing of your soul, what I feel. So we go through it's an evergreen healing, and we go through the evergreen healing. You're just there enjoying the healing, and there's so many things that come to me, symbols, signs, colors, and I draw everything that I see, and then
Mhm.
I give you a report of everything. And then we meet, we talk about it so that you can truly understand what came forth. But nothing comes from me. I don't heal you, you heal yourself. I don't get the messages, somebody gives them to me. Somebody,
Mhm.
whatever it is. And this is the most beautiful part because I'm just the ground and I can host the energy, and this is what I'm being used by the universe. And it just makes my job so much fun.
It sounds like it is. I mean, this is extremely important work, and I feel like if more people had access to something like this, the world would, in a sense, be a better place. More people would
Yeah.
be living out their dreams and who they really are, um, and living the kinds of lives that they want. So
I
it's really
feel
good.
there's a lot of pressure on that though, like a lot of pressure on what's my purpose. When people reach out to me, their first question is, I've done everything. What am I not seeing?
Mm,
Probably you forgot to be.
mhm.
For me in my world, purpose equals being. If
Yeah.
you are being truly, truly being, you plant your feet on the ground every day, you find your center and you tell the universe, I'm ready for this day. the better can happen. There's nothing else that can happen, you know?
Right. Yep. I definitely agree with that. One of the things you mentioned on your site is the use of soul language. Can you explain that concept?
Yeah, so soul language is what I was telling you. Like when I make the drawing, the soul. So basically, in human design, if we go into something that is maybe more accessible to everybody, in human design, the premise is that your soul integrates your body 88 days before you were actually born, right? So that soul is in your body. I don't invent anything. It's there. Everybody has a soul. Even when you walk beside someone, you say, I don't think they have a soul. They do. Everybody has an intuition. Maybe you don't hear it right now for whatever happened in your life, but
Mhm.
we all have access to this. And the soul language is sometimes the language that is so subtle in your being that you're not hearing it. But I'm not you, so I can hear it. And this is what I try to get you to hear as well. Because when you can hear your soul and you can have those deep conversations with your inner being, intuition, so many things get resolved.
You also mentioned that you intertwine the power of energy into every new venture in your life. How does that work? What does that mean?
Well, energy is everything and everything is energy. There is nothing else but energy. This is my belief, the way that the human sees the world is for our human to understand. But our soul understands differently. Our soul doesn't understand the concept of time. Our soul doesn't understand the concept of being separated. Our soul only understands oneness and only understand that every moment is the right moment for what you have to live in this moment. And everything is just because it is.
Hmm.
It's hard for the human to say when you're suffering, um, there's a reason for it. And then the human starts rationalizing. Why am I living this? What do I learn from this? What do I get from this? What did I do so that this came to my world? What if there was no reasons? What if you could just be like the elderly that's sitting on the porch, watching everything happening in front of them and just being content with that? The universe would stop bringing so many harsh moments if this is not what you have to live, because you wouldn't be in the why and the how and the rationalizing everything. You'd just be in your being, living. And so the universe would not be confused whether you want to suffer, whatever suffering means for you, or you want to be successful, whatever successful means to you.
Wow. This is like a full on education that I'm getting. Yeah, I'm learning a lot. I was very intrigued by all of the concepts because I'm a firm believer in energy, and that's how I get to know people and allow people into my life is through their energy. I feel it. Either it's something that I think is going to be make a positive impact on me, or if I don't feel, maybe I feel it's negative, and then I kind of push it away or veer away from that. So
Yeah,
I
your
it's
being and
definitely
your core
interesting.
are giving you these answers, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, Dominique, another interesting thing that I read in your bio was that you've been nomadic for the past 25 years. I wanted to get into that
35.
a little bit. 35, wow. I wanted to get into that and talk about, your travel experiences and how that has helped shaped the woman you are today and whether or not you are still traveling or on the road.
I am still traveling. I never stop. We did have a little pause because my younger kids are teens now,
Oh,
and there's different needs, right? There's
yeah,
a thing about like it's my path, but my path is intertwined with my kids' path. And
right.
at one point, it's okay to stop my path for them to live their own at the moment. right? And then I'll just start being full nomadic again when they're on their own. Um, my travel has helped me a lot in deepening my inner understanding of so many things on so many levels. I when I like I remember the first time I went to Morocco, when I walked into that country, I just felt like my soul belonged to Morocco. There's something about that country that is so soothing, the energy of that country. Then I walk into other countries like, oh, Romania, for instance. I was like, I had so much energy. I just wanted to do everything, see everything, be everything, learn everything. I'd like speak to the taxi drivers, to the people sitting up. I just wanted, and I'm not very talkative, but I would talk to everyone, right?
Yeah.
And then when I'm in Mexico, I just want to eat. I just want to have all those flavors from everywhere. Every single state in Mexico has a different cuisine. And then when I go to Colombia, I want to hear. And then when I go to, I think it was in Europe, in Spain, I was smelling everything. So every single sense in my body gets something new from every different country. And now that I understand that knowledge is on everything, you need to turn it into wisdom so that it serves. Well, I actually take the time to bring that in.
Mm.
You know, like in Portugal, it was the colors. Oh my God, like I would walk and it feels like they're all enhanced. You know,
Wow.
every place I go, there's something that is happening.
I know that
And when
feeling.
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think it's the best thing about traveling. And, you know, like also seeing kids growing up in all different countries and understanding different cultures and not being afraid of the world. You know, I can't say that I know what's going on in the world. I'm really sorry. I know that the world suffers in a lot of places, but I don't go on the news,
Mhm.
you know, and maybe sometimes it would put me in trouble, but I follow my intuition
Right.
and I follow my core and I go where I'm called to. And I've seen my kids blossom through that and learning so many things, you know, like being in countries where they don't understand a word, but they're playing complicated games with the locals. And that just makes me feel alive.
Yes. Yes. And that's what I like to encourage people that I meet. I love talking about travel. I love talking about the impact that it has. And, the average person may take a vacation and may stay in a hotel in one neighborhood or a resort and never get to experience the locals, as you just said. And so, for people listening, I just want to reiterate that I mean travel opens your mind. It does it gives you a deeper understanding of everything. And you have to have your mind open and want to you have to want that exploration and take time to branch out, talk to the locals, eat the local food, put the itinerary away and just pay attention, observe, soak it in. It is really I don't know how else to describe it. It's one of the best things you can do for yourself. And were you traveling solo in your first years or have you always
Yeah,
traveled? Oh, I know not.
so when I was 15, 15 to maybe 18,
Mm-hmm.
I traveled by myself. And then from 18 to 20, I had a really good friend that was like in and out. And then she went to work on cruise ships. So I traveled by myself and then go meet her where she was. Um, you know, you meet people.
Yeah.
I am definitely not very good at I'm good at being a quick friend, but I'm not good at keeping communication going when we're traveling. And remember, like I'm older, right? So when I was that age, there was no cell phones. You
Right.
had to write letters and stuff like that. So I can't say that I've kept a lot of friends from my traveling as a younger person. But after when my kids were there, I still have friends from Costa Rica, from so many places that we've been to that they're on WhatsApp, you know, and once in a while I'll send them a message, hey, how you doing? It's just, yeah, traveling really does create a different, I think it makes a different DNA.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I feel like you have to have a certain DNA to be able to do it. And as you
Yeah.
said, if we listen to the news, we would all just stay at home, with fear in our own little
Yeah.
bubble. So,
There's another thing also that I have to say, because people that are listening right now, maybe, I know I've been, not, I have never been rich, right? So traveling right now in 2024 can be very expensive.
mhm,
So I don't stay in one place. I actually travel. So if I'm going to pay rent in one place and food in one place, I just go and I do it in another place.
mhm,
My kids are homeschooled. There's a lot of things that I've put in place because this is the life that I want. And it's not for everyone. And if
right.
it's only 1 week, and if you only go to one resort in your year, you can still go outside of the resort where the employees are, and then you just sit there and you watch how they're interacting together. Just that is going to teach you so much.
Hmm.
You don't have to go and be in a full-time nomadic, but it's really getting out of that comfort zone that brings you so much more knowledge and understanding of how the world works, truly, not just on the shallow side.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember before I first started traveling, I would meet people from all over the world in my city. I'm originally from Washington, D.C. So people would come from all over for work and school. And I just felt like, a lot of times their perspectives were so much broader than, some of ours in my country. And I was like, yeah, I want that. I want to get outside of this bubble and travel. I think it's always been in me. Um, the trips that I took with my family growing up, we didn't leave the country when I was growing up, but just getting out of the neighborhood, taking a road trip, um, really opened my mind to travel. So I've
Yeah.
always felt like a global citizen and happy to
And
be able
also
to do that now.
you can be a tourist in your own city. Like you're saying,
Yeah.
you're from DC. DC is amazing. I've spent an entire week in one tiny area of DC just looking at people walk. You know where the
Yeah.
botanical garden is?
Yes.
I would sit in front and like you're kind of like on the big park and there's all the museums and you see all the people walking, and I would just sit there and watch people. I think I can hear their soul, so it makes my life very entertaining,
Yeah.
you know? But just that, I mean, I'm Canadian. I don't know my entire country. I don't know every state in the States, but I know the cities that I live in.
Yeah.
And there's another thing also. It's all when you start traveling, if your perspective is checked with the whole of who you are and you go with an open mind and an open heart, you will meet nice people. I don't
Mhm.
think I have ever met a rude American.
Mm.
But
Mhm.
a lot of things that you hear is that Americans are dry and they're go, 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 and they just want to go to work. I've met a lot of Americans that just want to go sit, have coffee, and talk and have fun. And they
Yeah.
don't care for work. They don't care for being the corporate, next big thing.
Right.
And all Canadians are nice. I've met a lot of Canadians that just didn't care who you were, but they had a big smile on their face for whatever was going on in their heads.
Hmm.
All Mexicans are nice. I don't know if that's true. I've met a lot of Mexicans, again, that just wanted to be left alone. But
Hmm.
watching all of these perspectives that we have for the world and then getting there and being open. Seriously, I'm trying to remember where I met people that were not nice and I can't even think about it.
Hmm.
There is nice people everywhere in the world. And
Everywhere.
even in places where people are struggling, I lived in Belize for 11 years. This is a country that really struggles. I haven't met anyone that put a gun on my head and said, give me your money. It never happened. Everybody is nice. I've met a lot of people that said, come and have coffee in my house. Would you like to taste my local food? Would your kids want to play with my kids? Let's just go play soccer. You want to just sit and listen to us talk?
Yeah.
Everywhere in the world, everywhere.
Everywhere. And that's one of the things I learned is that there are so many people who have so much happiness with such very little resources. It's one of the things I observed in Mexico. I spent a few years there. And I was like, wow, many communities, there's not a lot of resources, but everyone's happy. And like you said, let's eat together, let's celebrate together. We don't need a reason to celebrate. We're celebrating on Friday night and maybe Sunday afternoon. So
Or
yeah,
from Thursday to Monday.
right, right, exactly. Yeah, I've experienced that as well. So yeah, travel is a beautiful thing. Everybody should get out there and experience some piece of the world, even if it's their own city. As you said, there's always gems
Yeah.
to be uncovered. So, so Dominique, I'm curious, the work that you're doing now, do you think it's something you will continue to do for years to come, or do you have plans to pivot into anything else or add to what you're doing?
So for starting in, actually, it's funny that you're saying this. I take the month of July like most people take the month of January. And I'm an advocate of aligning. It's not because you're doing something today that you need to be doing it tomorrow.
Hmm.
If it doesn't feel right, change.
Yep.
It's as easy as that. And so starting in September, I am going to be talking a lot more about intuition. A lot more. This is what I already do in business, but now I'm going to be talking to those creatives out there because I do believe that every single person has a creative mind. We can all create something, and every single person has access to their intuition. But society, or the linear thinking, the 3D dimension, has taught us to listen to a lot of external stuff. And so I'm going to be talking a lot more on how can your intuition be louder than your ego? And how can you befriend your ego instead of making it want to go quiet? Because it's not going to happen. How can we be one with all and be the whole of who we are instead of wanting to be this part here, this part here, this part here? Let's just be a whole.
Hmm.
And I'm going to be talking a lot more about that. I'm going to bring things way back to energy. I love talking about business. I'm never going to stop. I love strategies, but how can we use those strategies to be empowered? How can we use everything that we've learned in the 3D and bring it inside of us? Awaken our true intuition. Have this talk with our higher self and use it so that it works for us here. Be the best I so we can be a better we. We're not meant to be by ourselves. And if you go back to energy is everything and everything is energy, you are part of me, I am part of you. We're on the same grid. So let's all work together. This is what I'm going to start to be talking about a lot more in September. Still have the membership. I still have the human design, the auric field, the soul maps. All of that is still there. But let's bring it back to you. You don't need me to do that for you. So how can you tap into all of that and make it work for you?
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'll be tuning into that. Will you be sharing some of this information on your YouTube channel?
Yes, the YouTube channel, I have the Soul Conversation Collective right now, which is amazing because everybody that's coming on all have intuition, and we really bring the business into the intuition, but starting in probably a little bit further because the episodes are already recorded, but in October we're going to start to bring it way back into the core. Like when you say, I know when I need to accept someone in my field, or I know when it needs to be repelled.
Mm-hmm.
Why? How do you do it? We're going to go deeper with the people so that everybody can learn. this is not information that I'm entitled to and you're not. Everybody's entitled to it. We all have it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the things I've learned over the years is to listen more to my intuition. It's always been there, as you said, but I feel like as I get older, the voice gets louder and I trust it more. So
Hmm.
I'm excited
We
about that.
have, I think that I heard someone say the other day, she was an older lady, like not old, but maybe in her late 70s on one of the panels, and she said, I have less to lose and I have more to teach. And I was thinking about that. We don't have anything to lose anyone because we're all here, we're all whole, right? But it's funny how we wait so much to be everything that we want to be.
Oh, yes, we do wait so much to be everything that we want to be. Mm. And apart from maybe internal fear, what else do you think holds people back? Or do you believe that it's fear? Because we all think, oh, I've just been afraid. I don't know. What if it fails? What do you think holds people
Well,
back?
my belief is that there's two frequencies, there's fear and there's love. And anything in between, like if you're neutral, you're starting to understand oneness. Anything under is fear. Anything. Anything you can think of that is not in your empowered state, if you really dig and deep into it, you do the 7 layers deep method, it's going to end up being some kind of fear. And anything that is on over, if you do the 7 deep layers method, it's going to go back to love. And this is where we want to be, but society doesn't teach us that. Society teaches us that if I'm sick, I'm going to go see a doctor. If I want to learn, I'm going to go see a teacher. If I want to cook, I'm going to look at how my mom is cooking. If I want to drive, I'm going to take a test. So the 3D, the linear thinking, teaches us that everything we do in life, we need to learn from an external source. The
Mm.
knowledge is everywhere. We can learn anything from anywhere. We can sit here and think, what did Einstein do? And then really tap into your body, and you're going to understand what Einstein did. Maybe not like this, but with practice, it does. Joe
Hmm.
Dispenza, all his knowledge, you can sit here and you can understand his knowledge. Now, picking up his book, watching his documentaries, going into his workshops is going to help you turn that knowledge into the wisdom. But first of all, we get everything from the outside. I need to be an engineer. I need to be an architect. Oh, I can't do this. I'm going to be a waitress. A waitress is as good as an engineer. So why are we diminishing anything? Why are we, first of all, why are we listening to first the outside and then the inside? I want to learn what Joe Dispenza does because inside of me, I know that I can heal everything. I've tapped into that knowledge, but now I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. So Joe Dispenza is already the expert. I'm going to go listen to him and turn that knowledge into wisdom. But I've tapped into me first.
Hmm.
Like what you do, Bianca. Having a podcast is not easy. I would love to know how to do a podcast. It came from me first. And then I see how you're doing it, how flawless your podcasts are. Then I contact you. You're already the genius in your zone. I'm not going to reinvent the genius, but it came from me first. This is how I probably diverted from your question right now, but when we tap in first and then go out, then the answers can only be from love. When we get the answer from out, most of the answers will be from fear, and then we go in to start feeling whether we want it or not. But the reason why we're doing it most of the time will not be from love. And
Okay.
there's no absolute, right?
Hmm. I love that. Tap in first and then go out. I mean, it just
Yeah.
makes the most basic sense. I love
And don't
that.
try to reinvent the wheel. There's
Ex-
already tons of geniuses out there. Don't
Exactly.
lose your time. Just find the
Exactly.
genius that you like. And again, when you find the genius that you like, feel, is this the person that I want to be tapping into my energy to teach me what I want to learn?
Mm-hmm.
Feel in. Everything starts from within. Everything.
Yeah.
Nothing starts from the outside, only if we're listening to external answers. But why would an external answer give us our internal answer?
Right. Right. Oh, that's so good, Dominique. That's so good. So on that very lovely note, I hope everyone is, I mean, in fact, we should all be taking notes. I'm gonna, when I replay this and do the very little editing that I may do on this, I'm gonna be taking some notes. There's so many nuggets here, and I'm gonna pull them out for the listeners as well. So I appreciate you for all of the gems you have dropped during this episode.
It
But
was
on
my
that note,
pleasure.
I think that is a perfect time to move into the strawberry round, where I'll ask you 5 questions and you give me 5 short and sweet answers. And if you don't have an
Beautiful.
answer, we can certainly pass. Just say pass.
Awesome.
So, you ready?
Yes.
The first one is, name a book that has inspired you tremendously.
The Peaceful Warrior from Dan Millman.
Mm. What's a tool or an app you can't live without, personal or professional use?
Midjourney.
Okay. That's one I'm not familiar with, but I'm going to look into that. Name someone you'd love to have lunch with and why.
Einstein.
Mm.
He's just a genius.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Do you have a life motto or a favorite quote?
At one point I wanted to be called the quote lady. I just love quotes. I really like the quotes of Henry Ford. I think that they are very business yet so deep. And I have a blank right now, but look up Henry Ford. His
Mm.
quotes are amazing.
I will. And finally, what's your top self-care ritual?
Cutting cords. Every single night when I go to bed, I see, I've envisioned a white light going around my silhouette and cutting anything that attached to me during the day so that I
Mm.
can have a very good sleep. And then in the morning when I get up, I really find my center. As soon as I get up of the bed, I put both of my feet on the floor and I find my center.
That is such a good tip because I know a lot of people, including myself, will go to bed sometimes with things on my mind and I haven't taken the time to intentionally remove that stuff. And then I'll wake up in the middle of the night with a list in my head or, something that, hey, this person said this to me, or I forgot to do this, or I can't wait to get up in the morning to do this, this, and this, when I should have just cut it off at night before I went to bed so that I'm not thinking about it in the middle of the night. Very good tip. So, Dominique, do you have any final words for our listeners as words of encouragement or something they can take when they're considering a pivot in their own lives?
Yeah, I like to remind people that stress is a killer. It is a killer, like literally a killer.
Mm.
So don't stress. If you need to pivot and you're scared of the pivot, do one little time, like one little step. You don't have to go like this. You can just go slowly, slowly,
Mm-hmm.
no stress. Keep it easy. Keep it in flow with yourself. No stress.
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect words. Again, thank you so much, Dominique. This conversation has been educational. I've learned a lot, and I'm looking forward to learning more about what you do. So I'll post your links in the show notes so our viewers and listeners can follow you as well. And I'd like to thank you again for joining the show today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was a lot of fun. I like the strawberry questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Dominique, again. Take care. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of the MILFs Who Pivot podcast. Please take a minute to leave a review and don't forget to follow the show, download the episodes, and share with the other MILFs in your life. Listen in on any of the major platforms, including Apple and Spotify, or watch our videos on YouTube. You can join the community on Facebook and Instagram at MILFs Who Pivot Podcast.